Welcome to part 2 of the Resource Allocation Decision Tool walkthrough video for the module with a reduced budget. My name's Terry Haines, and we've fast forwarded a little bit from where we've left off part 1 of the walkthrough. So we've gone through and continued to complete all the questions, and now we're going to focus on the final report. Remember to keep in mind that I'm currently using a PC and Google Chrome to maximize the functionality of the ReAD-iT tool. I'm currently in my dashboard, and I'm going to go back to my report number 28. I've completed all the questions, so now I'm going to view the final report by clicking on this particular button here. This will take a few seconds to load up. And as you can see, we've got a download now for the Resource Allocation Decision Tool final report and a hyperlink to the Word version. Now the Word version can be consistently downloaded if you're using a PC, but if you're using a Mac, then it's less reliable. Let's start with the computer version before we download that Word version of the report. Just to orient ourselves to the information that's provided in this final report. Basically, everything you see written on screen here gets shown in the final report Word version as well. So what we begin with is just a general introduction to the overarching goal of the ReAD-iT, followed by some blue subheadings. Now these are suggested subheadings. You can go through in the Word version of the report and edit these. You can delete them altogether if you want. You can complete the details if you wish. So we've got some suggested headings. When developing the ReAD-iT, we consulted with a number of health services about the templates they use to communicate decisions and requests up to executive, and these are the sorts of subheadings that we have included in this ReAD-iT report. You'll then see a date and an orange highlighted executive summary. So again, we've provided some subheadings for you where you might want to provide a bit of extra local contextual information regarding this particular decision, and also the recommendation that you are pursuing in this particular report. Now, in the reduced budget, we've come to a decision that we're going to support the option of removing $30,000 per year for a computerized cognitive behavior therapy service for people with depression to reduce symptoms of depression and improve quality of life. That's a choice that we have made. So here is the decision graph for this particular option. Now you'll see on the left hand side all the different question domains that you have been asked questions about during your completion of the ReAD-iT, and on the right hand side we see a graph of red bars and green bars, and you'll see some orange bars as well. Hopefully there's a couple of orange bars further down. The red bars indicate a finding for that domain which is not in support of removing this particular or reducing this particular option. The green bars indicate yes, it's in favour of reducing this particular option for this module. You've got to be careful when moving between the different modules in the ReAD-iT. In Module 1, we're talking about increasing a budget and increasing the amount of service provided. So the green bars for that module are in support of commencing that particular service. However, in this particular module, we've got a reduction in budget. The green bars indicate responses which favour reducing or removing this particular option. So you've got to be careful that you pay attention to which option you are completing. Now, the questions that you see on the left hand side again map onto the questions you completed in the ReAD-iT. The bars on the right hand side, the size of the text on screen is playing a little bit with the formatting of this particular graph. So if I reduce the font size a bit, you'll see the graph becomes a lot more condensed and actually looks a lot more easy to understand. So you can increase or decrease your window viewer size by using that little settings tab in the top right hand corner of Google Chrome, and that makes it a lot easier to view this graph. As you can see down the bottom here, the little arrows indicate that bars, the further they go to the right hand side, greater support for removing this option, and to the left hand side those red bars indicate that there is less support for removing this particular option. The key for the bar length and for the bar color is here. Bear in mind again that your responses to multiple questions could be feeding into the bar color and length for the particular bars that you see in this graph. So for example, cost effectiveness, if I'd answered that I thought this option was particularly cost effective, but I had said that I was very uncertain in this judgment, then that uncertainty would make both of those bars appear orange, because the orange bars indicate uncertainty as to whether to remove or to retain this particular option. Again, each of the particular domains is presented here with the questions that they relate to, and on the far left hand side we've got the thematic areas of readiness, impact and appropriateness that map onto each of these domain areas. Following on from this, we have a set of descriptive statements for each of those domain areas for that particular option. So here we have readiness. Resourcing is red because there are potentially adverse resourcing, funding or contractual issues that may arise from cessation or reduction of this option. So if we again go back up to the graph, readiness, resourcing, domain is red. So down below we have a text explanation for why each particular domain received the color that it did. So you can go through each of those particular domains and read about why each response was given the color it was given. We follow this with a risk analysis and contingency planning table. This is an important part of any decision-making process. In completing modules 1 and 3, so the ones related to an increase in budget or a reduction in budget, you need to include and complete the columns in this table for both the risks and the mitigation strategy. So it's good to look at those red bars for the option you selected and understand why each of those bars is red and come up with a mitigation strategy for each. Further down, we have a conclusion as to the overall decision that was made, any of the constraints associated with it, and a more detailed description of the options that were considered. Following on from this, we have an appendix. An appendix for each option that was considered and the exact response to every question in the ReAD-iT. Again, when you complete your reports, this is auto-populated in the Microsoft Word document. You don't have to include all of this information in the reports that you use. Again, we provide it for comprehensiveness and so that you can use any information that you think is useful in the way that you report up to your executives or other decision makers. You'll notice that some of the formatting isn't quite right, so we have 2 full stops here. This is why, again, it's important to have that Microsoft Word report. So let's download that report now. And as you'll see, the Word report, it will just get rid of them so we don't see them, has been completed. And basically all the text that you saw before in the computer screen output is here again. So with the formatting, we can just go through, clean up the formatting a bit if we like, and remove any sentences or statements that we don't want to retain in this final report. So again, it's a very flexible way of presenting your problems and considerations that you have made when coming to this decision. So you can enter all the risks and mitigation strategies here into the table so that you can make a record of those things. And below again, you have the appendixes related to each of the individual options that you considered in making this decision. So all the information that you entered into the ReAD-iT is reproduced for you in an automated output. You also get the decision graphs for each of the options, not just the one you select. So for each appendix, for each option, you'll get that decision graph being produced as well in the Word report. And that is the information that you'll be provided with when you generate a final report using the Resource Allocation Decision Tool.